All right, hello everyone. Welcome. This is a LOME 2026 tournament game. I'm going to try out showing off some cool tournament games that people send me where fun things happen, and it's very exciting. So this is actually not one I played in. This was sent to me by Elendil, great username, and it is their matchup between themselves and Korggoth. So, we can see the starting hands here. Shadow gets a beautiful starting hand, loves hitting Cruel Weather and a Deadly Strife. Free people, pretty happy with the Scouts. Axe and Bow is fine. So can't be too upset. These starting rolls, though, really good for free people, really bad for Shadow. As Shadow in Loam, you always want to still have some musters. Even one gives you Balrog, so very sad to not have any and 3 Palantirs as well. With a roll like this, though, I wonder if we're going to see Aragorn. So Free People starts us off. Free People is going to draw a card, and they get the last battle. Okay, maybe we'll get to see that played. Check out the World Tournament round, the championship game, the first game, featured the last battle, and you can see how that worked out. We get strategy card draw, Shadow's moving. Nice to have Swarm of Bats, but not really playable, unfortunately. Shadow still has no playable cards. Oh, and we're getting the guys. Okay, yeah, I can see why this game was sent to me. We're going to see an Aragorn game. Boromir's coming along. Yeah, I think this is a great strategy. Especially in Loam, getting those extra dice. Now, one thing is, it will give a Balrog, or at least a ring, to Shadow. So that mitigates Shadow's bad roll a little bit. They get Pits of Mordor, which is a pretty good early card to have, but unfortunately, it can't be played because Sauron isn't at war. We see the boys move out to Eastamnet. Some consolidation of guys in Mordor. Yeah, that makes sense. Now we see them give a ring, so Shadow is going to be able to spend that ring turn 1 to at least get something going. And they do get Balrog. Yeah, I think I would too. It's a bit risky because you're giving free people free musters when they're already getting an extra die. But this start is just so bad for Shadow. You need to get something going for yourself. I'd risk it too. And of course, they get Aragorn. So Narya should go away. Because Free People did not move last turn, but getting Aragorn in Loam is so strong. Now Free People is going to have that the whole game, and Shadow just hasn't done much militarily. So they get Athelas, that might be played as Andoril, Imrahil. We also see for Shadow Candles and Threats and Promises. If Shadow can get an early reveal, then this could get really bad for Free People, with some corruption already separated. So yeah, no Narya, we see Balrog. Always fun when you see Balrog activated. And pretty reasonable rolls for both sides, all told. Starting off with Palantir playing Axe and Bow. Activate the Balrog, so he's going to get to do something this game. That's pretty fun. We're mustering Gondor to war with Boromir's ability. Getting Sauron to war. And mustering... So, Elendil is really focusing on getting Gondor to war. And yeah, that makes some amount of sense to me. You're going to muster up in Minas Tirith so that Gondor doesn't just get smothered by Shadow, because that's a very common Shadow strategy. So, yeah, it is giving up movement, but you don't want to give the Chief to Shadow early either. There comes an Elite. Shadow's moving out, and now they move the Fellowship. Only 3 dice. They do get hit, but it is Smeagol, which is really interesting. So, for the second turn in a row, we're not going to see Narya come out. Instead, we're going to have Smeagol blocking the Narya die. So, I don't know. As Free People, are you happy to see that? You're happy it didn't get revealed, certainly, but Smeagol's kind of annoying. And we get Pits of Mordor, so nicely played. I wonder, we might see an early attack on Lorien with these armies squaring up. Let's see. So Shadow thinks for a second. They have Musterings, really great defensive card. Actually, a lot of good cards in general. I think the correct discard here is Devilry, though, as it's just not that good of a combat effect, and Threats and Promises is useless. Yeah, there you go. So Fellowship is okay. And we haven't lost Balrog Die yet, because Witch King isn't active. Pretty good roll for free people. Um, Shadow should be okay. They can get Saruman. Let's see, more mustering up in Minas Tirith. We're going to get a giant stack. Attacking Osgiliath. And yeah, Swarm of Bats versus Scouts. So that Swarm of Bats got to be used. One hit for Shadow, one hit for free. Okay. So now, I mean, look at this army in Minas Tirith. That is a huge army. It's a 4/3/4. That's 10 hit points versus Shadow's 10 hit points. Are we going to see a field battle in Minas Tirith? Or are we going to see Strider run away? Maybe even with the army. Okay, we're just seeing Isengard to war. Moving the Fellowship, hit again, but it is the Smeagol tile. So that's kind of fun. Now that you drew a second Smeagol tile, I imagine you're pretty happy as free people. Because even though you want to kill Gandalf, I mean, avoiding 2 tiles is nothing to scoff at. Yeah, it is better than missing, Elendil points out. So yeah, that's true. We move again. We're hit again, and it's a 2, and I imagine Smeagol is going now? Yeah, Smeagol's gone. Gandalf's back in charge. Probably they're going to go for Narya next turn, or maybe they'll move again. I don't know. Doing a random. Okay, so that's interesting. So I think they're trying... I can see the logic. If you hit Gandalf, that's decent. If you hit any of the captains, depending on what kind of captain they are, that's pretty good. I have to assume from this move, Free People does not have alternate hobbits, because I think that this would be a much worse move with the alternate hobbits. And we draw Smeagol anyway, so that's pretty funny. So Smeagol's gone. We shall get it enters play. Free People has until they get down to Gollum to get rid of that thing. And we see Palantir. Yeah, I think this is a really nice time to play Palantir. Free People has got to be thinking about Gandalf pretty soon. And if they want to give up a movement and a ring, that's fine with Shadow, I'm sure. And they could start cycling... You know, they don't actually have anything to play this turn. That's kind of interesting. Oh, but Free People gets rid of it. Yeah, it's, that really worked out for Shadow, because that's very funny that Shadow didn't actually have a playable card, and now they get a ring that they can spend. All right, so Shadow is not risking Minas Tirith. I kind of disagree with that decision. I feel like if you just attack Minas Tirith, I mean, Free People might have scouts. They already had 1 scout, so the odds of them having 2 is a little low. And I mean, at that point, once you get into a fight for Minas Tirith, either Free People has to grind down this entire army and have virtually nothing left with Aragorn, or they have to retreat and give up Minas Tirith. So I would be willing to throw this army at Minas Tirith and fight, even though this army is likely to lose. But we see a 4th elite in Minas Tirith, so Minas Tirith is getting even bigger. Now it's starting to just get completely out of hand. And more movement. So Shadow is going to kill Lorien, kill Gladriel, who is the only keeper ring left at the moment. All right, we get Riders and Dead Men. Free People's got to be happy to see Dead Men. For Free People here, I'm a little torn. I feel like maybe Kieran Ships Charge is a great combat card. Maybe you get rid of Gwahir? Yeah, probably that, or maybe Imrahil, if you just figure you can muster in Gondor. We get rid of Imrahil. Yeah, that makes sense. Shadow gets another swarm of bats. Really nice. If I'm Shadow, I'm really happy to have swarm of bats for this fight. And we get a nice roll for Shadow, and Gandalf, his first time rolling a die since turn 1, he rolls an eye. So all that effort to get rid of Smeagol, and Gandalf just does horribly, of course. But we're killing the Balrog. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You don't want him bearing down on Lorien. Here comes out the Black Captain. Yeah, I mean, the utility of Chief is a lot less when Gondor and Rohan can be activated by Aragorn. And presumably you want to fight in Minas Tirith, and you want to do as much damage as you can. So Black Captain is just going to be much more effective at that than Chief, and Fellowship still isn't revealed. So I think this is a good moment and a good decision to bring out the Black Captain here. They put them here. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's safer there, so I understand that. But at the same time, I mean, you're not going to lose Osgiliath in one attack. Ring race. Oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter. We're just going after Lorien. Yeah, that's fair enough. So Lorien goes under siege. Free people. This is also a really good way of handling this turn. Free people have no musters, so it's pretty easy for Shadow to just blow up Lorien this turn. And we're attacking Lorien. Swarm of Bats cancels Daylight, so good job, Witch King. We get one hit back, and I assume, okay, they're just cycling. They're taking it a little slower, and they get King as revealed, which is pretty nice. We're attacking Lorien again. I think you play the Deadly Strife here? No, they're getting rid of King as revealed. I mean, the King is revealed, so maybe you want to save it for that. But I guess with musterings of Long Planned War, that's really all you need. Ooh, killing 2 but getting 0 hits, but then 2 on the reroll, so there's at least that for Shadow. And no hits for free people. We're downgrading. A desperate battle for monsters roused, and yeah, they just finish it off. So Lorien was highly likely to fall there. That is the upshot for free people. They managed to take out Lorien before Galadriel even thought about awakening. And 2 hits back, and Shadow's on the board. So yeah, nice job, Shadow. Normally, sometimes you see these Lorien sieges being insane. Not this game. At least not yet. Getting the Southlands towards war, moving, and missing. So that's the first time Free People has moved and been missed. So they've been hit quite a bit. On the other hand, it's been pretty good tiles for them. So it comes out to a bit of a wash. Getting the Southlands all the way to war, I guess, to just be ready for musterings. As Shadow, you've got to be nervous about attacking this army. Now that Shadow rushed down a Lorien, attacking this army in Minas Tirith is much more dangerous because it can break out and go toward Dol Guldur, which is completely empty. So Shadow's got to be a little bit worried. Right as the Theoden is nice. Maybe they're gonna surround it and go to Druidane. That would be an interesting move. So they move out from Daggerlad to Eastern Emyn and they group up in Nirhorod. They're getting all their boys ready. And we hit again, and this time Shadow gets a reveal. So pretty good for Shadow. They're going to go through Moria. There's no Balrog, so that is the benefit of that will. And we draw an eye. So good and bad. I mean, it doesn't kill Gandalf, which Free People probably wants at this point. Then again, they don't have Elrond, so killing Gandalf takes away Keep or Die. So I don't know. Probably overall net better for Free People there. Just moving off of Lorien, I'm a little worried about leaving Lorien so empty, but I suppose you can have these guys from Moria walk in if things get dicey. The sign Shadows Gather. Ooh, I love Shadows Gather here. That is going to be really useful if you want to just throw yourself at Minas Tirith and then reinforce easily. Free People gets Challenge of the King. How many eyes are in the pool? There's still 3 eyes. That might hit something, or you could save it. And Red Arrow, so another Scouts, which is really nice. And we're going. And look at that. Gandalf's die is useful, and there's no will, so they're happy to keep Gandalf in this case. Hiding the Fellowship. Now, what do we have going on? So they are closing in. I guess they're going to go to Druidin. That's pretty interesting. Just surrounding Aragorn, kind of corralling him southward. Red Arrow. Upgrading an Orthanc. Moving out. I mean, this is way too much for Shadow to deal with. When they still have this army here, I don't think Shadow can afford to fight Rohan. But we're mustering up. Horde from the east, so yeah, just playing all the mustering cards, which makes sense. I mean, you need more forces when Free People is mustering like this. The only problem is Minas Tirith is kind of a problem. I want to get that under siege if I'm Shadow. Another thing to consider this turn, I wonder if they could have played it out to rush to Lamroth. Free People do have Círdan ships, so they would have had a counter to that. But, that would have been interesting. Moving the Fellowship, and 4 5s. Unfortunately, that does not hit for Shadow. And this little move of 1 elite to North Ithilien, I don't get that. I guess it's a... Oh, I see. No, I see what it is. This is setting up for Shadows Gather. Okay, yeah, that's a cool play. So they're going to Shadows Gather this entire army in from North Rood. So, you know, if this was Shadow's plan, their powering up of Orthanc makes a lot more sense. They're going to get South Rood involved. They're going to get all of these armies involved, and I guess the idea is you're just going to crush Free People under so many numbers. Gwa here, so they get Aragorn out of there. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it is kind of sad to have to go under siege. And, I mean, at this point, you certainly cannot run away and do military stuff. But it does kind of seem like the Fellowship's doing okay. Let's just play a traditional game and have Aragorn active and ready to do dead men things. All right, Shadows Gather. Yeah, that's the payoff for the move. So now we really have, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 armies bearing down on Gondor. That's amazing. And kind of like another half one. So, Boromir's tough, but that's a lot. Moving the Fellowship again. Mist again, which is really good for Free People. And just getting some Nazgul for, I don't know, just wanting to have all of the Nazgul leadership you can. At this moment, I'd really give the edge to Free People. Shadow they needed to hit them more in the hunt. They just haven't been super effective in the hunt tiles they've been drawing. Even though they hit them the first 3 steps. And, I mean, this is just a mess here. I mean, Rohan and Gondor seem like they're just going to take forever to take down. We declare Druidain, and we get 3 eyes. Pretty reasonable rolls from both sides. They're at even dice. Fellowship is moving, and they're missed again, so that's got to be rough for Shadow. Getting re-rolls onto the Fellowship, yeah, move an Orc on, why not? More leadership in Minas Tirith. Yeah, I think you should probably just besiege it. I guess the idea is you put the guy in Druidain on here, and then they can't retreat to Druidain, so that's kind of a multi-purpose move. More mustering. The philosophy from Sauron this game is that quantity is a quality all its own, as they're just getting everything they possibly can to throw at these giant free people armies. And we're ring moving. Yeah, that makes sense. So, free people ring moves, they have a chance of getting into Mordor this turn. I'm a little. I mean, the Fellowship isn't good enough health that they can afford to take a beating here, so I think it makes sense. And they are finally hit and revealed, so Fellowship will not get into Mordor this turn, which is really big for Shadow. But they take Gandalf, and the other thing with ring moving is now they can use a will to bring back Gandalf. So really nice for free people in that sense. We are moving some guys down, so these guys just stay in Parth Celebrant. Yeah, I wonder about why these guys left Lorien at all, but they should be fine there. I don't think a threat's going to come from the north. And we're grouping up in South Dunland. Here comes Gandhi. A quick Ologai, so we have 7 elites hanging out in Orthanc. Not something you see every day. Elven Cloaks. And attacking Fords of Eisen. Yeah, I mean, Free People's going to be able to hole up in Helm's Deep, but they're probably going to do that anyway. So the attack has to come at some point. We get a desperate battle because it doesn't look like a military victory is on the table, so musterings is not useful. And we just annihilate these poor guys. Look at that. Poor Fords of Eisen. Theodred is dead, and they get 1 hit back, but that is a pretty significant Shadow army. Amusingly, they leave a Mordor elite, so something like Spirit of Mordor plus Ents could kill Saruman, which would be crazy, but that is obviously an unlikely scenario. So Rohan holes up. Yeah, makes a ton of sense. You know, Aragorn is in theory trapped, but Free People, of course, knows that they have dead men of Dun Hero to help out. That was a pretty good turn for Shadow, though. Even though Free People gets Gandalf, they got denied an early Mordor, and now at least it looks like there's a plan to take points in Rohan, which is always good. Guards the Citadel. I mean, how many Gondorians have they even left? There's 1 elite. So, Boromir could hold Minas Tirith for a long time. If I were Shadow, I would start thinking about alternate paths to 10 points. Maybe Woodland Realm. Probably depends on card play. Maybe something like Rage of the Dunlandings or Shadow of Dol Guldur. We'll see. Free People have an Ent finally too, so that's worth mentioning. Even dice, great roll for Free People as for Shadow, as Free People is unable to get into Mordor, so that is really devastating for them. If you're Shadow here, I think you really got to strongly consider just playing out these character cards, because especially Foul Thing and Candles, like these are limited time value. Once they get to Mordor, you're not going to want to play them as much because they'll be down to Gollum and these eyes. Like, if you remove an eye in Mordor, it's gone forever. We're getting more mustering done. Attacking Pelargir from the 8-2. Getting a hit versus a hit. Do we deadmen here? That would be interesting. Aragorn definitely could deadmen. It puts him a bit at risk to deadmen, because if he deadmens, Shadow can attack from Osgiliath. But maybe they decide to risk it. They don't have scouts. If they had a scout, they'd probably be more likely to deadmen here. Nope, we're doing it. I love it. Bold Aragorn is ready to do some damage. So he's coming into Pelargir. Let's see the roll. 5 hits. So yeah, this army is just decimated. That really defends Dol Amroth. They retreat. They get 3 regulars. A Shadow? I mean, you gotta attack Aragorn, right? You play Swarm of Bats. Is it a trap? I mean, if I were Shadow, I think I might consider playing Onslaught here, because if they scouts, okay, whatever, they had a scouts. But I don't think you're getting 3 natural 6s, so Swarm of Bats isn't going to help you that much. And Onslaught gives you really realistic chances of killing Aragorn. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do with Shadow. And we see Anduril back, so Free People is going to dish out some hits. 1 hit from Shadow, and only 2 because of Anduril, so too bad for Free People, they didn't get more. And now we onslaught 4, and they kill the king. Wow, that's a crazy turn of events. Now, Aragorn did just deal 7 points of damage. Um, so, I mean, if you look at this situation, a couple turns ago, you had a giant stack in Osgiliath, and I think it was a 7-2 in Pelargir, and now look at these armies, there's like nothing left. So, you know, Free People loses a die for the rest of the game, but Shadow, it might hold them back more than those 4 or 5 dice ever would. So that's a really interesting gambit from Free People. Um, obviously it was risky and they lost the king. But I think they can't know for a fact Shadow has an onslaught. And against, I guess the Deadly Strife also could have killed him. But against like a Swarm of Bats or Desperate Battle, 3 hits was not super likely. So it's not an insane gamble to make. And I mean, ultimately, Aragorn is there to help preserve your win chances. He's not there to live forever. So if sacrificing him to really stymie Shadow's attack um, is what Free People needs, then yeah, by all means. We are moving up. So at this point, if I'm Shadow, I think you want to go after Dol Amroth and mostly leave Minas Tirith just contained. Because I just don't see how these armies take Dol Amroth and Minas Tirith. In fact, I don't even see how they take Minas Tirith at all. Just leave like 5 regulars in Osgiliath and go crack Dol Amroth. That's what I would do. Uh, Free People are hiding. Makes sense. They got to do that. It's really a shame for Free People they didn't get more movement. And hopefully, I think Shadow should play Foul Thing here. Or before the end of the turn, at the very least. We're getting another Isengard leader. And we're moving out. So I guess Free People has Ents, but they have no rings to play them with. So that's interesting. And I think Shadow is probably going to ring move so that they can get these guys into Orthanc. Buffing up even more, so now we have a 6-0-2 in Dol Amroth. And if you get another elite, that could really do some fighting. And now we have Foul Thing. Yeah, I mean, Shadow is doing exactly what I would do in this situation, and I think they're really playing this well. That is such an interesting gambit from Free People. That is such a cool moment. As Free People, do you sacrifice Aragorn or risk sacrificing Aragorn to deal all that damage to Shadow? And was it worth it? I don't know. We're going to see in the rest of the game whether that sacrifice wins the game for Free People or dooms it. So, Fellowship is revealed. That's a nice result from Foul Thing. And we're on to next turn. Free People goes down a die, but they go up a die from Elrond, so it's not too bad. We get Shadows on the Misty Mountains and give it to us. Shadow is still really far off from dunking, so I think it was probably worth it. Although Free People was probably already ahead in the race. Finally, a good roll for Free People, so they should get in even with Cruel Weather. Although they'll need to be mindful of it. Ents are played, and there goes Saruman. So yeah, I don't really agree with vacating Orthanc. I think if you did as Shadow, you really need to move these guys in at the very least. because I do not think it's worth it to give up Saruman this early. We're attacking Helm's Deep. Now Rohan should fall, so that's that for free people. That's not too bad. Moving into Fold and Eastonnet, and free people mustered once, but they really have to use the rest of their dice for moving, so they can't really afford to deal with this. Oh. Shadows in the Misty Mountains is played. Yeah, starting to build up another big army. You need something else. Like I said, I don't think they can take Minas Tirith. Moving the Fellowship, they're safe. We're moving after Rivendell. This is a bit bold. The thing is, this Northern elite got moved here, but it can't actually get into Rivendell. The North is not at war. So Rivendell, and they don't, as free people, you can't really afford to spend a mustering in Rivendell because you need to move against cruel weather. So yeah, nice pressuring the dice for Shadow. Moving around, they do spend it, so we're gonna see cruel weather now. They attack Edoras. Okay. Yeah, just kind of taking care of Rohan while you can. That's a hit, and that's a hit back, and Rohan's done. Interesting little split. I don't really know what the purpose of that is. But now we see Círdan ships, so Dol Amroth is going to be a tough take. And we see cruel weather. So another turn for people is stalled out. That's a really nice play by Shadow to go after Rivendell. Now, it's still really hard to see the win path for Shadow. Like, there's just so many defenses. But, now they got Helm's Deep under siege. That should fall. They're going to get to 6 points, and then they can, figure out the last 4. All right, back in South Athelion again. 3rd turn in a row. Gotta feel like you're making no progress as free people. What do we get? Faramir's Rangers, which is a shield wall, and 3 rings, which I'm sure free people has just been begging for these last few turns. They would really like to get Elrond's ring back, at the very least, if not more. Terrible roll for Shadow. If free people had more... Oh, this is really dangerous. This is really dangerous because this guy in Edoras... let's look at it like this. If you go... Do you dare go to Fangorn and then orderly withdrawal? You could risk losing Gandalf. But the thing is, if free people, there's, no way for Shadow to get into Lorien. They have to move Eastonnet back to Parth Celebrant if this guy manages to break out. So, if you muster an elite here, and then they attack, and then you move, yeah, this is really dangerous for Shadow. Oh, drawing cards now, a little bit late, but that's okay. So we see Grond, which is nice, and many kings. So Grond's a really nice card to have. Mustering up. Yeah, I think at this point, the fact that Shadow attacked Edoras rather than Rivendell means that Shadow acknowledges that this whole Rivendell play was just to draw out the die for cruel weather, and it's not actually going to seriously take Rivendell because this army just can't. At this point. Okay, this is really scary. As free people here, I think you play Shield Wall, and if Shadow... It's tough. Is there a Black Captain? There's no Black Captain or Ring Race. I think Ring Race has already been played. So, yeah, I think this is a major mistake by Shadow. Because Shadow needs to get 3 hits, and if they don't, then they can retreat to Fangorn, and then walk into Parth Celebrant and walk into Lorien. And there's not really anything Shadow can do about that. Oh, Elendil, no, you gotta play Shield Wall. Ah, that's sad. As it happens, Shadow just rolls 2 6s, and they have Great Host, so they're fine. Um, and that is not how this game is going to work out. But that is a crazy possibility. They also could have walked into Orthanc, and this army, if it if they walk into Orthanc, and then these guys run up to Dol Guldur, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't happen though. They get cleared out. So 2 hits to 2 hits, and we're on to the next turn. Moving the Fellowship, they get hit and revealed. So lately, the hunt has been going better for Shadow. There's a random, and it's Gimli, so that's not great for free people. And another eye. So, yeah. I say that, but then the tiles are still fine for free people. If Shadow had another tile drawing card, they would want to play it now, but unfortunately they don't. Give it to us goes in the pool. 3 rings, so this is a really big roll. If free people can get 1, they'll get Elrond's ring back, which could be really important for Mordor. If they could get 2 or 3, it's even better. They get 1. So, 1 is like 50% of the value that they can get from this, even compared to 3. So, for free people, they really just needed to get 1. But obviously, the more they got, the better, and 1 is what is expected. So, they get Elrond's ring back, so very nice. We are drawing a card. Yeah, that makes sense. Captain of Despair. I think, yeah, as Shadow, you probably just play Candles of Corpses and move into Helm's Deep for the rest of your turn. Another Gondor Elite to delay Amroth. What is Shadow going to do about Gondor? I mean, look at these 2 strongholds. That's just insane. But I just don't know. Beyond Helm's Deep, I don't know what points Shadow is getting. So moving Nazgul, hiding, and Grant? Yeah, okay. I was thinking you'd prioritize Candles of Corpses, but Grond is fine too. You can try and cycle for more character cards. Or strategy cards. Yeah. I wonder what Shadow is looking for here. Maybe Corsairs. Corsairs could make a pretty big difference. If they could get to Lamroth, put it under siege, fight a little bit, and then send a new army from Umbar. Sure. They get 1 hit. They get 3 hits back. I think Helm's Deep should be dead, but it is a pretty respectable army guarding it. It's just that this was a 1/7. Servant of the Shadow, that's the one that gives. It's like a mini Dread and Despair, so decent card for Shadow. And 3 hits back from free people. And then Devilry versus Daylight, and oh, that's frustrating. You get 3/4s for your combat roll. So yeah, I take it back. Turns out Rohan has it completely under control, and Shadow is not taking Helm's Deep anytime soon. They're going to have to reinforce. So that is a pretty heartbreaking result for Shadow when I feel like they probably at least should have gotten it pretty low. Let's see, Elrond's gone, so free people is going to have to be happy with 5 dice. We do get a Deadly Strife for Shadow, so that's good. And a really nice roll for free people. As Shadow, I wonder if you could consider allocating 3 eyes here. That's tough. We want to preserve military chances. I just feel like you might have a better shot with corruption. It's a big pool. This is a hard game for Shadow either way. Moving the Fellowship, it's a 1, just kill Axe and Bow. Makes total sense. Reinforcing, moving again, it's a 2, just kill Legolas. We're attacking Helm's Deep, Deadly Strife versus Sudden Strike. Could be a very bloody combat round. And Shadow gets 4, so there you go. Shadow got a good Deadly Strife. Rohan still gets 5 back. So Rohan is fighting really hard. And we're pressing, I guess, just to see if Shadow can pull this off. They need 2 hits. They play their Deadly Strife. I might have saved it, but also you want it dead, so I get it. So they trade some hits, and at the very least, Helm's Deep is dead. So Shadow's at 6 points. How are they going to get their last few? I don't know. Maybe there's something weird they can do here. There aren't a lot of elves left, so I would be seriously looking at mustering in Northrune and going for Woodland Realm. We'll see if that's what they do. Moving the Fellowship. So now we hit a, what is that, a 3 reveal? And the opportunity to play Candles of Corpses is not passed. They only take 1 Hobbit. So the other Hobbit stays in the Fellowship. To guard against We Shall Get It, but this does leave the opportunity to play Candles. Shadow just isn't prioritizing it. Is this going to be a Shadow's Gather play? Okay, so let's think about this. If Shadow does a move to South Downs and a move to Gap of Rohan, it doesn't quite work. Shadow Lengthens is 2 for 2 regions. They're kind of trying to make it work. I don't feel like this is super efficient, but it is at least a plan. Like with Woodland Realm, there just aren't that many elves, so you're going to go harass Grey Havens. Oh no, that was a mistake. As Shadow, you needed to reinforce with these guys first, not move them separately. That's just a little inefficient. They're guarding Tower Hills. Due to the geography of Grey Havens, this actually doesn't help them that much because Shadow can just go to Harlingen. The dwarves are getting involved. And we get the mouth, and this just seems hopeless for Shadow at this point. I mean, they can try some things, but corruption isn't bad, military is slow. I feel like, Aragorn just did so much damage with his death. I think that really hurt any chances Shadow has. We get a Power 2 Great, which is really nice for this situation. A really nice roll for Shadow, but enough to dunk for Free People. And so I imagine we're moving an Elrond Ring, putting in Vial, okay. Orc Patrol for a 3, okay. So good job, Orc Patrol. If they don't want We Shall Get It to go in the pool, they just have to eat that 3, which is pretty nasty. Moving the Fellowship, it's a 1 reveal. At this point, do you take Pippin? No. So they are really trying to avoid We Shall Get It. I guess that makes sense. I mean, you can hide and move. You have to not hit this red tile, and then you win the game. From Shadow's perspective, let's think about this. They're going to go take Grey Havens. That takes 1. Shadow's Gather. So 2, 3, 4, 5 attacks. Maybe along the way you can half move into Shire because they moved out of it. And then along the way these guys can go towards Dale. So wait, hang on a second. So 5 attacks, that includes taking Shire, and then that includes walking to Villa Carnan, and then 6 dice to take Dale. But they can re-attack with these guys. So that seems like a pretty far-fetched plan, but it's a start. I don't think Shadow can win this turn. I think they do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice, so I guess they could muster once and then do that. But of course, Free People has a Power 2 Great, which would require another die. So, yeah, that's going to be rough. They're just playing Candles of Corpses. Yeah. At this point now, this gets them to 8. Just getting in some corruption in the pool makes things a lot more interesting. You still need the 1 reveal, which is pretty unlikely. But it's probably your best out. I I don't get this. I guess they're what are they saving Shadow Lengthens for? I guess just a Mumakil? Maybe over here or something, or down in Dolamroth, or maybe finally trying to crack Minas Tirith. They're moving and they hit the one reveal. So that is, I was pretty sure that it was going to happen, or else I wouldn't have been sent this game. But yeah, now Shadow's alive again. So Free People is forced to stop. They take the Hobbit, and here we go. So Free People is now revealed on the last step. They're at 8. But this is where things get really interesting. Free People has no rings. Um, Shadow has Lidless Eye, so it is quite possible Shadow could make it so Eyes kill next turn. Um, so I guess we'll see how this plays out. We shall get it as in play, so that could be really interesting. So the game is not over. Let's see. So they're moving into Shire. Yeah, they just take it for free. I think Free People probably shouldn't have abandoned it. Here comes Gollum. He's calling out. He needs to be placed in the Guide of the Fellowship box. Let's see. Attacking Tower Hills. Oh, I don't. Yeah, you gotta. You can just move to Harlingen. Maybe people don't realize this because it's so small, but yeah, Harlingen is just as close to Grey Havens as Tower Hills. And they scout. So yeah, that makes life much harder for people, and it basically takes for Shadow rather, and it basically takes 4 cities off the table now because the dwarves can just retake Dale anytime they want. We get the last elf in Grey Havens, and that is a very strong stack over there. Grey Havens goes under siege. Gale gets mustered in. And some reinforcements. Yeah, you gotta take Arid Luine. I think that's very important for Shadow. And where is... I wonder what this guy's doing. Maybe they're gonna Shadows Gather up to Eastern Imman Wheel and go for Woodland Realm. That would be kind of fun. Maybe there's some scheme with these guys that I haven't seen the light of yet. But we're on to next turn, and the game is not quite over. Um, Now, I think you still have to give the edge to Free People here. There are currently no red tiles in the pool. So I know that Shadow has Lidless Eye, so they can guarantee eyes are lethal. So they can drag it out a turn. But can they have 4 eyes in the hunt pool and win? That seems a lot less likely. All right, so will only one move, so that is really big. Um, so they're able to hide. So now Shadow potentially can make things happen this turn. Um, Now how do they get to 10? I don't see how they do it because I mean let's look at this. They can. Oh no, this is actually pretty straightforward. Um, Yeah, the fact that this specific role is so bad. This is maybe I mean the worst thing would be no movement at all. But 2 Palantirs and 2 Musters is just ridiculous. Um so now what Shadow needs to do is they muster, muster, get a 2/3 here. You could even muster 4 times, and then reinforce here, fighting Uruk, and then attack with the final die. Maybe you have to muster one less time, and then move leadership. But Shadow can win this turn because of this Free People roll. So let's see how this works out. Shadow lengthens. This could work. Do you have enough movement? I guess so. You fighting Uruk, and let's time it out. So fighting Uruk, great. Not guaranteed to work. You do have a pretty big leadership advantage, though, so I would definitely give the edge to Shadow in this siege with fighting Uruk. Um, so yeah, let's think about it. So you fighting Uruk, you use the mouth once, you move, So that gets you to Southern Ravanian, then attack to take Dale. Okay. Yeah, there was a crazy plan with Eastern Name and Wheel. That's awesome. I love that. And free people can't move. They could play Power Too Great. That might be worth it. You could get rid of. Actually, in this case, you would get rid of Fighting Uruk-hai. So I think free people, you don't know what Shadow's going to have. It it might be, but there's not that many cards they could have, and there's the possibility that Shadow doesn't actually have an army card. So I think it's definitely worth it to play Power Too Great in this situation. We're just moving. We're moving. We're moving. We are reinforcing. They're attacking Dale. Okay. So no card versus a charge. 2 hits from Dale. So Dale, it isn't possible Dale can fight this out. Now, they have a really huge leadership advantage, so it seems unlikely, but it's certainly possible. But Shadow gets 2 hits. We are continuing to go. So let's see. Start of the next round, it's a 3-1-1, 5 HP versus 8 HP with more leadership. Feels pretty good for free people. I think it'd probably be better to do the Fighting Uruk-hai first because then you can cycle into cards. But no card, and the Valor is played. So, okay. That's 3 hits for Shadow with no card. That's really good. And Valor gives free people an extra hit, so that's 3 hits back. And now, yeah, they just retreat into Woodland Realm. So they might try and come back with Woodland Realm. Oh, no, they can't. They cannot. So Dale has been lost. It's all going to come down to Greyhaven's fight. So now do they play Power Too Great? Yes. Okay. So I think it was a little bit of a mistake for Shadow not to just Fighting Uruk-hai right away, because now they have to get rid of Fighting Uruk-hai, and you get rid of Fighting Uruk-hai and Black Breath. Your chances are still alive. You have 2 attacks to take Greyhaven, so it's not impossible, but they would be much better if you had Fighting Uruk-hai. Why are you using that dice? Oh, Shadow. What did they get rid of? Oh, they got rid of a new... Okay, so that is illegal. They need to get rid of an army card. So they need to get rid of Fighting Uruk-hai. So I assume this was just a mistake. But yeah, they should not have... They should have gotten rid of Fighting Uruk-hai here, because New Powers Rising is not an army card. So unfortunately, in sending me this, I think that does technically invalidate a win if Korggoth gets it. But we'll see how the cookie crumbles here. They probably should have just attacked with Fighting Uruk-hai earlier, and that would make this not matter anyway. But they didn't. So that is something to note. We'll see if it matters after the game. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it if Elendil wins anyway. They get rid of Words of Power, and I really disagree with that, because Lidless Eye next turn could win Shadow the game, depending on rolls. And I still don't understand why they got rid of their Hybrid Die, because that's a second attack. And now you have to take Greyhaven's 1 attack, which I just don't think is very likely. Drawing a card, mustering, and using the ring to play Fighting Uruk-hai. Okay, yeah, so this should not have happened. This should have gotten rid of. So we'll see if it matters. Greyhavens. No card around 1, and they got to play Phlox of Krebine. My bad. So Phlox of Krebine gives Shadow a pretty decent chance of taking Greyhavens. They need to roll well this round. redraw into something good, and then play it. Um, I mean, I'd give the edge to free people. That is a lot of HP for Shadow to mince through. A lot. But I have seen weaker sieges succeed. Shadow starts off with 2 hits. That's pretty decent for an opening round. Free People only starts off with 1, which is big for Shadow. And we get on they went. So, yeah, this is where I really don't agree with this play, because if Shadow had saved their hybrid and attacked with that, they could have used a ring to play on they went. If this attack goes poorly. A minor thing, but it might end up mattering. So let's see. The elves take an elite, and we get Black Breath versus Valor. So the good news for free people is Shadow did not draw a playable combat card. Valor claps back, gives them. It's a good. I think this is a good card play from free people. Maybe you could have saved one in Dale, but I think you just gotta try and win the fights you can. Shadow does hit with Black Breath, which is pretty nice, but they only get 1 hit, which they really need more than that. And Free People gets 2, so we're on to round 3, and Shadow gets 0 hits, and Free People gets 2, and that's the end of that. So basically, the game's over. So let's see. Moving on to next round, we got Wisdom of Elrond and Wizard's Staff. Fighting Uruk is gone, and they roll, and yeah, that is the end of the game. So a really crazy siege in Grey Havens, a rules error that fortunately didn't end up mattering, because Free People wins it either way. I really liked this Shadows Gather play to Eastern Emon Wheel. I think on Shadow's part, there were a few minor things that maybe could have tipped the scales in this game. Like just going to Harlenden, and it would have been really tough to hold Grey Havens. Obviously, the one reveal was crazy and an unlikely result, to say the least. But, Shadow had some rough luck earlier in the hunt, so sometimes these things kind of balance out in that way. I'm a little sad we didn't see something crazy happen with Lorien when these Weston guys got attacked. I mean, as free people there, if they muster an elite and play Shield Wall, maybe they can get into Fangorn and then do some mischief. Um, that would have been cool to see. But just such a strong defense and a really cool play to just throw Strider into the wood chipper and do it and get a lot of hits in return. And it ultimately made it just basically impossible for these armies to take a stronghold. I mean, they maybe could have done it, but it would have taken a lot of dice and not been a sure thing. So yeah, that's the video. Really cool game. Cool round 1. Feel free to send me more. I really enjoy these games. It's cool to see the tournament play out in many different games. There's 32 games, 32 matches in the round 1 tournament, and you only ever see videos about 2 or 3 of them. So it'd be cool to, get more content about those out there. And this was a really well played game and a fun one. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.